Tyler from Tenthumbs Pro, new ukulele every single Wednesday and Saturday. If you like this kind of content, hit subscribe, ring the bell, never miss a lesson. Today we're going to go from scale to solo. You can do this over any song in any key. Printable tabs for this tutorial and all our tutorials by becoming a Patreon. You can even get a backing track for this one. Links in the notes, a link to this direct lesson pinned in the first comment of the comment section. Email in the description if you want some one-on-one lessons. Grab the ukulele brain attention span, follow me on in, and let's shred. Okay, so today what we're doing is I'm going to show you how to take a scale and solo with it. Now we've done a lot with this, but specifically what this lesson is designed to do is to show you how to make that solo and the chord progressions more cohesive, to make it stick, to make it sound more musical and more professional. Now we're going to be soloing today in C major, and we're going to be using the C major pentatonic. All 5 shapes of this, if you want to learn them all, I can link that as well. We've done a video with all 5 shapes of them, but you don't need to know all 5 shapes to follow along with today's lesson. Having said that, it will benefit when you're ready to improvise and create your own solos. So make sure you check that video out. Also worth noting, all 5 shapes are in the PDF for you Patreons. Okay, the chord progression. C, A minor, F, G. We're in the key of C, and this is what's known as a 1, 6, 4, 5. And let's say you have a friend, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, 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 up. This is a song that we wrote. It sounds so good. It's about a boat floating in the tropics, riding through the sea. It needs a solo, so come and help me with your solos. So you have that chord progression. It's a song you wrote, a song you're playing, whatever, but you want to play a solo over it. The first thing that you have to do is know the scale, and then the second thing is you want that scale to get to stick to those chords. So we bring up the first 4 measures. Our first phrase sounds like this. Okay, fairly basic. So they're 8th notes, and I'm starting on the 2nd fret of the C string to the 4th fret to the 3rd fret. And that's 1 and 2. And then notice the fingers I'm using. I'm using the fingers that create the least movement. You want the less movement with your hand, the better, because it's going to be more articulate. You're going to make less mistakes. So that's something to keep in mind. 2, 4, 3. Then the next phrase is 5, 4, 3, 5. So when I do that, I slide up and grab the 5th fret with my ring finger, 4th fret with my middle, 3rd with my index, and back to the 5th fret. And this part is the part that goes from the C to the A minor. If I count it, I get 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1. Now this note here, this is an A note. And I'm playing this over the A minor chord. When you're learning to solo and you want to get your scale to stick to the chords and you want it not to sound like a scale and more to sound like a solo, you're looking to aim for something called chord tones. And the easiest way to do that is with the root. If you look at a C chord, you know it has a C note. If you look at an A minor, you know it has an A note. Now there are 2 other notes, which we're going to get to a little later, but when you're starting, you're just aiming for that root note. That's the easiest way to do that. And here on the 5th fret, we have an A note. Now, if you don't know the fretboard, a good way to do this would be to print it out, look at the scale, and then find that A note. And let's say hypothetically you were just going C, A minor, just these 2 chords back and forth. Well, one way you would practice it is you would improvise and just try to land on that A note on the first beat. And you would do that over and over and over and over again so you could feel confident improvising with the scale, but resolving on the A. Now, what we're doing here is what we're called, this is a phrase, and you can think about a phrase as a musical sentence, and we're resolving our phrase, which means finishing our phrase. And we're doing that with a chord tone. A minor chord, A note. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This note with this chord are gonna fit perfectly. All right, it sounds, well, that's a A7. So it's the same note as this note. It sounds perfect, right? Then we're gonna let that ring. When you're learning to solo and you're doing these ideas, you don't want it to sound like a run-on sentence. You don't want to just hit that and then go right into the next phrase, because it sounds like you're musically like you're babbling. Let that note sit against that chord. Let them blend together. Let your listener feel it. Now I'm adding vibrato, which we're going to talk about not in today's lesson, but further down this road. Don't worry about that so much right now. Right now, it's mostly timing and understand this concept of chord tones. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then our progression pushes forward with an F and a G. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to start our phrase on the F, and then we're going to resolve it on the first beat of the G chord. When we resolve it on the first beat of the G chord, we're going to resolve it on a G note. Right now, we're sticking with these root tones, okay? So our phrase sounds like this. Five, 3, 5, 3, 3, 3, 5, 3. And this comes from the second shape. In fact, it's all the second shape. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 4 and 1. G note, resolving on a G chord, right? So if we put these two ideas together and we count them really nice and slow, we get 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, before we move to the next 4 measures, why don't we go ahead and play this nice and slow to a backing track so you can hear what it sounds like with full harmony. Idea number 1, or measures 1 through 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. So let's bring up the next 4 measures. The next 4 measures, if we look at the first little bit, it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So we go 2 and 4. 4 with our middle finger this time instead of our ring finger, because our index finger is going to come grab the 3, and we keep it on the 5th fret with our middle finger. So we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So again, we resolve on the A note over the A minor. Okay, so we resolved on the A note. That's the same. Now, notice that the riff isn't exactly the same. The first 3 notes are, the 5-4 is familiar. When you're creating a motif, and a motif is kind of like a repetitious pattern, that doesn't mean you have to play everything exactly verbatim the same. It means you get more or less the exact same thing with some slight variations. That way your listener out there is going to recognize it but still have the element of surprise. So when you're learning to solo and you're learning to compose and improvise your first solos, when you play your first phrase, the second time around, try and play it again, but change just 2 or 3 notes. Keep the core, keep its soul, keep its identity, but just change a handful of notes. That will give your listener a sense of familiarity, but also surprise as well, which is really, really nice. Now, we go into the second phrase. And this one actually is exactly the same. There is no change there. Now, if you wanted to change a note or two, you totally could. For example, you could hit that 3rd fret 2 times. But it's still sticking with this idea of a motif, and we're still resolving G note over the G. So let's play these 4 measures with the backing track now. Okay, measures 5 through 8. Here we go, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next 4 measures. Now this is where we start to get a little more interesting. This is a 16 bar solo, 16 measure solo, so we're halfway through. This phrase sounds like this. All right, what's going on? 2, 4, 3, kind of preserving our motif. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So our first ornamentation. Music, we have 5 ornamentations. We have the slide, hammer, pull, bend, vibrato. And it's kind of, when you're learning the whole soloing as a concept, you really don't want to try to tackle all 5 of those at the same time. That's why we're just introducing one of these for the lesson, and it's the slide. Now there's kind of 2 types of slides in general, the immediate slide and the sliding in time, where you're going to go 3 and this one is the latter. So we go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1. Then on the 1 beat, over the A minor, we play an E note. Why is that? Well, the A minor chord is an A note, a C note, and an E note. The E is the 5th interval. That's why A minor, A major. The difference between an A minor and an A major is a C and a C sharp. But they both have this E note. That's the 5th interval. So a chord tone isn't limited to the root. Now when you're learning, the root is the easiest way to identify these chord tones. But if I resolve my lick and the harmony is the A minor and my lick lands on the E, those are going to harmonize perfectly together. And in fact, always landing on the A note over the A minor was going to make your solo sound overly predictable. And you want the resolution to be strong, but you don't want it to be predictable. That's why us landing on the E note here is so valuable. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we get to the F and the G, and the next phrase goes. All right, this, my friends, is not a G note. It is a D note, okay? So that's why this is a G chord, open, 7, 7, 5. It's another G. This is a G5. This is that same G5, right? G. So the G chord has a G, a D, and a B. And we've hit this D note to resolve this lick. Same idea, because it is a chord tone in our G chord. It's going to sound equally safe and really nice, and we avoid being overly predictable. All right, so let's play these 4 measures to a backing track. Okay, so we're coming up on 9 through 12 here, okay? Remember the slide in time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great job again. Last 4, and you're going to notice something a little interesting here. These are actually 5. Why are they 5? Well, because our chord progression started on C as opposed to finishing on C, and at the very end, that's going to be the ultimate resolution to our solo. But we're going to talk about that when we get there. Let's start with our first phrase. All right. 1 and 2, 3. Well, it goes 1 and 2 and 3. So we're going to go 2, 4 on the C string, 3, and then take your index finger up to the 5 and slide back to 3. 1 and 2 and 3. Fourth beat, 3, 5, 4, and 1. C note. We've resolved over the A and the E. Now we're resolving over the C. Our A minor, 3 notes, A, E, C. We did the same thing. This is just another chord tone. So we get okay, very, very cool. You're learning a lot, and if you're making it this far and digesting this stuff, you're doing great. Without tooting my own horn, these PDF files really, really, really do help. It starts at just $1 a lesson, but you can choose to support 2, 3, 4 lessons. It's ultimately up to you. So it's like $2 or $3, $4 a month, $1 a month, and it really does making follow these along easier, and it really will improve your skills. It's okay. So now we're moving on to the F chord. 5, 3, 5, 3, 4, 2, 3, 2. Okay, now this time the phrase ends on a D note again. The only difference here is D note, D note. That's the octave. It doesn't have to be a high D. It could be a D here, a D here, it could be a D here, it could be a D here. It doesn't matter which D it is. It's still going to be a chord tone of the key of G, or of the chord of G. So we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1. All right, now you'll notice this time there's a little baby riff after that, because this baby riff is what resolves the entire solo. The most important note in your solo is the very last note, meaning it's like the reverse of a thesis. A thesis starts with your thesis statement. A solo finishes with a thesis note, right? It's the resolution. It's the cherry on top. It just brings everything together. So if your solo is in the key of C major, your last note should be a C. If the idea for the solo was A minor, the last note would be an A. If it was A major, it would be A. No matter what the key is, you want to finish on the note that gives it its name. A major, finish on an A note. A minor, finish on an A note. A mixolydian, finish on an A note. C major, like our solo, finish on a C note. And that will also be over a C chord. So this is the resolution that finishes the whole thing. All the other resolutions of our phrases were just kind of ideas within a larger idea. And the larger idea being the solo. You can think about a phrase as a sentence and a solo as a paragraph. And the very last sentence being the most important, which is why we finish on a C note. So if we play through these last 4 measures with the backing track, we're going to do that. Well, let's go ahead and do that. These 4 measures with the backing track. Okay, so our last 4 measures, remember we're going to finish on the C. We're only going to play this one once. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. All right. So let's go ahead. Okay, so now that you've heard that, we're going to play through this entire solo together with the backing track. I want you to hear how it flows. I want you to hear how it comes together. And most importantly, I want you to hear how each phrase resolves. So let's go ahead and jump into that together. This is the whole solo. You should feel confident, all right? You should have played each 4 individually. So here we go. We'll count this down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Proud of you, everybody. Great job with that one. Great work. Okay, so now that you've done that, great job. What you need to do now, though, is to take this from a lesson you did with me and make it a concept you can understand. So if you're a Patreon and you have the backing track, great. Play along with it. If not, just strum a C, A minor, F, G. And just improvise, but make it a goal. For example, when you land on the A chord, land on an A note. When you land on a G, land on a G note. And just improvise with just those 2 notes at first. Then say, okay, the next time through, I'm going to aim for an E over my A minor and a D over my G. Same thing, improvise so you can start to feel those ideas out. Really quick, one thing. You're going to say, okay, well, I resolved on my G and my D. I'm going to resolve on a B. When you play the C major pentatonic, you're going to see there is no B note. Now, when you play the C major, you're going to see there is a B note. So you can go outside the pentatonic. You can use the full major, and you can resolve on a B. I would wait with that, though, until the series progresses with that, because the F note and the B note are what are known as the 4th interval and the 7th interval. And those are a little more dissonant, so you have to be a little more careful with them. We will explain that further down the road. All right, that is from a scale to a solo. Practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, but you really have a strong foundation moving forward to start to do some really cool things. All right, TenthumbsPro.com. Rock and roll. So, learner out there on the other end of the screen, as it's transmitting through these wireless areas and going around from Colombia to wherever you are, I hope in this exact moment, you're looking at me right now when you're saying, dude, I am so pumped because I can shred. A lot of times people unjustly and unfairly tease us because they think the ukulele is a toy. This is how you show them they're completely wrong. Shreddage, random solos, and solo time. Remember to subscribe. New ukulele every Wednesday and Saturday. That way you can keep on learning with us. We're going to continue to develop this specific idea deeper. This is just the foundation to get you going, all right? Think about becoming a Patreon, cheaper than a cheap cheeseburger, and you can go all the way back in time, download all the old stuff. It really will accelerate your learning. All right, until next time, keep on rocking and rolling. Have a lovely day. Catch you next Wednesday or Saturday, Monday for guitar. Take care. Life is good.